You quit your job before you even sold a policy?
What if I suck at it?
Why did Erika win?
To me, there was no way of losing.
I said, what is the worst thing that can happen if you go? What?
Was it just luck?
Fortitude. They run out of fuel. They are gone. Rest in peace.
I would pencil my kids into my calendar.
So make a decision. Go to the fuel stop because again, it's all gonna work out for you if you go. You're not a salesperson. You are a problem solver. Welcome to our FFL Haven team huddle. Mac Agro Board President at FFL Haven. We're going to jump right into it, y'all. So we have a special guest that I've been secretly impressed, and I'll be real because there's no judgment here. It's Erika Haines. It's someone that I have always been impressed. I came from a single mom household. And I just remember when I was a kid, the things that my mom did that made me who I am, I didn't recognize that. But now as I'm growing up, I'm like, man, she was a rock star. So when I saw someone like Erika doing what she's doing, it just reminded me of my mom and how she fought for me. So guys, I'm impressed, and I'm glad that we have a chance to interview Erika Haines. And so Erika, if you would, let's jump into it. I know time is not the best with us right now. There's a lot of things have been going on and people have been saying different things. One of the most important things, at least for the ears, is you quit your job before you even sold a policy.
I did. Yeah, the story is actually really funny because my number one contributor to me moving here was, at the time, he was 10 years old. And so he just turned 13, and he takes 100% accountability for the reason why I'm here at FFL. So he likes to remind me of that whenever he wants new things and stuff like that. But yeah, it was actually my son that motivated me to move here.
That's awesome. So tell me about the experience. First, why would you do that? I mean, you came from a very, very good background. Obviously, there was something so compelling that would put, you're the mother hen fighting for your kids, and to do something like that, that's a pretty bold move. What would motivate someone like you to do that?
Yeah. So for me, I think the biggest thing was I had been in corporate America my whole career. I wasn't very lucky when it came to, just personal stuff, but when it came to my business mindset, I always felt like as long as I had a career, that my kids would be taken care of, right? Everything else was in the background, but if I could put food on the table, then I was okay. And I did well, right? When I left, I was making about $100,000 as a yearly salary. And then I was bonusing, anywhere from 10 to 20,000. So for an average American, like that's really good. I dropped out of high school to have my first child. So I don't have a college education. I don't even have a high school education. It's just GED. So for me, I just felt like that's as good as it was going to get. And one day I was with my son, we're hanging out in our little community pool, and he had continued to see Julius Gilger. He would show up with his nice car, and he would always have the fancy watches and things like that. And I just remember one day he was like, why can't we be rich like him? And I asked him, how do you even know he's rich? And he said, you could tell by the way he acts. So It wasn't even that he had seen his house or things like that. He just said, I can tell based off his demeanor. Right. And so because of that, it really made me stop and think. And at that time, he had asked, I said, what if I'm not going to be good at it? What if I suck at it? And he just looked me straight in the face and was like, you are going to be with that attitude. And he was right. And I also knew that he was 10.
10 years old.
Yeah. And so for me, it was like, you know what? I need to do this. I want to be able to just put everything in it, because I know that I'm not good if I have a backup plan. And so we were in the car that day, and that's where, I called, I put in my 2-week notice, and I started studying right away.
That's awesome. So you hadn't even gotten your license. You put your
No, I didn't even know how to get the license or how long that was going to take or anything like that. I just knew that there was no way I was going to be able to work 60 hours a week,
right?
Building someone else's dream and trying to study and learn a new field. So yeah, I quit and just went all in.
There's different kinds of people, and you can tell Erika's one of those people. She goes all in no matter what she does. So there's some people, they can go part-time, they can kind of compartmentalize, but when you bet on yourself, you know that you need to go all in for you to make it happen. And that was a difference maker. And of course you had Julius. By the way, Julius was a game changer for me, took me from helping 20 families to 40 and 60. So obviously he was able to find you. So kind of share with us this. Some people come in with different baggage. How did you know you would win? Like, do you think that you were prepared from other things you've done? And again, we're going to approach this in 3 different ways. From a brand new agent standpoint, you've been in the industry for a while now, then from building an agency. And so you've seen different kinds of people come in this game. What made you different? Why did Erika win versus anyone else? It's just you.
So for me, man, it wasn't that I was anything special. It was that I had watched enough videos to know that anyone that has not in the field or been in this industry could do it, as long as they put their mind to it. Right. And so for me, if I didn't need to have a certain background or a certain education, and it was 100% based off of, what I bring to the table, for me, I knew there was no losing. So you're going to show me what to do, and all I have to do, you're telling me that there's a footprint.
Right.
If I do X, Y, I'm always going to get Z. To me, there was no way of losing.
It's a math equation.
So that's exactly what I did.
Yeah. So you just went all in, kept it simple.
Now, I kept it simple. I did the boot camp. They told me, if you want to be successful, you need to do the boot camp. You want to make sure you're intentional about it. Because I do find that when I hire people on and they go, oh yeah, I'm like 60% through the boot camp. And there's no intention behind it, right? They're just telling me they're 60% because they feel like this is corporate America and they have to do it. Right. I knew I had to do it so I could be good. Right. So when someone told me I needed to do it, and that's how I was going to be successful, I did it twice. And this was before, Josh Williams' big one came out, and all these different agencies started creating them. I'm talking about the old school Grady Polson, it tells you exactly how far you are along. And I was like, okay, well, great. I'm going to do it twice. So the first time I'm going to listen, and the second time I'm going to make notes. And from there, they said, you need to spend $1,000 on leads. So I spent $1,200. And they said that you need to book 15 appointments. So I booked 16. And on my very first run day, I was able to protect 6 families. And I was like, that was it. Right. But you know what, Mac, I really screwed up in the beginning. And I think for anyone new, it's not always going to be like that. Right. There are some anomalies that can just go 1, 2, 3, and then boom, they're in it. But it's not always going to be like that. And that's okay. Right. We're all coming from different fields. You have to give yourself grace period and understand that with any industry, there's a 30, 60-day learning curve. Right. But the one thing that I did screw up in the very beginning is I thought, because my first day was so great and my first run day was so awesome, that I was just going to always be that way. So what did I do? My very second dial day, I didn't buy any new leads, because I was like, wait, I spent $1,200 and I only booked 16 appointments. There's got to be so many more in there that I can get to. So what did I do? My very first day, it took me, I got to the office. They told me, you start dialing by 8 o'clock. So I started dialing at 7:45. By 1 o'clock, I had 16 appointments. I was like, this is great. I'm not going to have to work all year. This is going to be awesome. Okay. So my second dial day, I didn't buy any new leads. So they had all been dialed through.
And that was what, Thursday, right?
That was Thursday, right? So I started Monday, ran Tuesday, Wednesday, protected 6 families. Come Thursday, I start running through the same leads, and I start dialing at 7:45, and next thing I know, it's 7:45 p.m. and I'm at like 6 appointments. I'm like, what happened? Was it just luck? No. You know what I didn't do? I just didn't follow the system. Right? They don't tell you to buy 1,000 or whatever it is, right? Whatever the goal is,
Right.
and then continue to squeeze those. They say you buy them, you make money, you repeat. And so I missed a step. I thought
Right.
I had outsmarted it.
And then you came back on, you kept it simple. And then of course you rinse and repeat, rest was history.
Yep.
Let me throw it. I've heard some myths. Again, if you don't know, Erika's a myth. When she goes to the office, people listen. There are agents that have been doing it for a while and people stop and they're listening. What is Erika saying? I mean, you said it. It seems like you actually listened to the boot camp. You kept it simple. It's almost as if you did it over and over enough to just simplify it. People would stop dialing, asking you questions. What do you think you were doing that was different than they were doing that made you succeed?
I think the thing that I was doing differently is that I chose the way that I was going to do it and I stuck to it. I find that new agents will try something for 1 day, 1 week, and because they don't automatically get the results, they go back to the drawing board, try to change it up, try to create new things. Hey, have you ever posted ads to get your own leads? Hey, have you ever done this? I'm like, no. You want to know why? That takes time. And guess what I didn't have when I started? I didn't have time or money because I had already quit my job because I'm a lunatic and I needed to make money. And so for me, I just needed the quickest way. And they told me that I can go here and get unlimited leads. And so that's what I did. So I think the only thing that I do differently when I dial is that I actually, in my first month, every single time I got hung up on, I wrote why. Right. Wow. And it finally became like the top 5 reasons. And what it showed me was that I really stunk at those 5 rebuttals. That's all it showed me. And so I got really good at those 5 rebuttals. And from there, it just made dialing almost the funnest part because I was able to fall in love with the phone and go, as long as I can continue to get enough hangups, I'm going to get people to say yes.
Love it.
And I think in the beginning, people get hung up on and they're like, okay, yeah. And they hang up and they're like, hey, Mac, I have, 4 appointments and I don't know what I did wrong. And it's like, well, did you write down what you did wrong? Did you try to fix those things? Because if you tell me, this business, you can diagnose what the problem is. And 99% of the time it's you. It's not the leads. We're all working the same leads. We're all calling the same people. We're not dialing from some special cell phone, right? And people can get so silly where they're like, what dialer are you using? Are you using phone burner or and I'm just like, it doesn't matter. Pick one.
Right.
I literally I want to shake people sometimes and say, doesn't matter. I actually had a Hall of Fame producer ask me a few days ago what leads I was dialing. And I was like, what? She said, yeah, I was just curious. I feel like I'm kind of going through it. And I just want to know what leads you're dialing. I said, you wrote 400, you protected 400 families this year. You're having one bad week. Do you really think you're going to switch it? Right. So I think that's it, man. You just have to find something, stick to it, and be able to do it with your eyes closed, especially if you're going to build a business. Because, even when we've been talking, I had a couple agents call, or, you have to be on autopilot. And if you can't get your business to a point where you're on autopilot, you're going to be constantly taking yourself back to the drawing board and trying to figure it out.
And I love the part. It seems like your motto is be bad enough, long enough to get good. Just stick with something and just do it. Now, when you were notating the things that maybe you weren't as good at in the beginning, who was your coach? What time of the day did you try to address that? Did you search it yourself? Did you go to the YouTube? How did you address that?
Yeah, so I went into the office. So I live out in Peoria, Arizona, for those that don't know. And Mesa is about an hour in 15 minutes in traffic for me. And for me, going to the office was a non-negotiable. So for anyone that's within a 2-hour driving distance, you're really hurting yourself by not getting to an office, right? Even telesales, you want to get in front of people that are doing it. And I know we have all the Zoom dials, which make it great. But for me, it was really just listening to the people around me. I went into an office that, at that time, Nina was dialing, Hayden was dialing,
Wow.
Ashley Gronberg were in there,
Wow.
Marissa was in there. We were all dialing together. Granted, we're all in different spots in our career now,
Sure.
but there's always going to be new up and coming producers that are going to be at the same spot that you're at. So the reality is, I got really good by looking at the objections and trying them out. Right. So for example, when people say they're not interested, we hear the same rebuttal. You should say, I'm not interested either, but this is my job. Honestly, Mac, I'm never going to say that. You want to know why? I sound like a bitch when I say that. I can't pull it off. Like maybe you can, maybe you have a nice enough tone, but if I turn around and say I'm not interested either, I'm going to get hung up on quicker than I was about to. Right. Like before I said that. So I just had to create things that made me stand out. So when people say, hey, I'm not interested, before they hang up, I'm like, so are you not interested because you don't think you'll qualify or because you want the phone calls to stop? Right. And then I catch their attention. Now they're like, wait, actually, I do want the phone calls to stop. You're right. And then I can get them talking. So I think you just have to find the right words that fit for you. So if you're trying to emulate someone that does not have any similarity to your personality, that's not gonna work.
Not gonna work.
Yeah.
But you have to do it long enough for you to know whether it works or not. So you try something, give it a season, a week, and if it works, keep doing it.
Trial and error. Absolutely. And when you're doing the boot camp, whatever one it is, you find someone that you can just
emulate
exactly. You can repeat exactly what they're doing, right? If I tried to dial like Grady Polson, I don't talk as fast as him. He's like very funny, and we're not the same personality. So when I was going through mine, I really liked listening to Paul McLean because he's just very go with the flow. He has a good simple process, right? Matt Smith, when he presents, he does he's writing out charts and he's like X, Y. And I'm like, I can never do that. Right. So just find someone that you can be like and make your life a lot more simple than trying to reinvent a wheel that's already perfected.
I don't want to overlook a thing that all of you seeing I want to say perfected product, Erika, she's doing that. She doesn't even know she's doing. She is a student of the industry, right? We go through the basics. How does she know who Paul McLean? How does she know Matt Smith? She went and studied. How are you going to find the person that you can emulate if all you do is just do the basics? She went out searching for the person, the thing that worked. And that's what I've noticed all the top producers do. They know what they're looking for and they find it, and the rest is history. No, thank you for that. So to tell me this, kind of give us a little bit of insight into your mind. So you get into the industry, you knock it out. I mean, obviously it wasn't easy, but you showed up every week and you had to make sacrifices. We had,
huge
2 kids.
Sacrifices.
Because people think it's easy. Hey, she was just good. It just comes good for her. 6 families at first run day. Was it easy? And what kind of sacrifice did you have to make in the beginning and even along the way to keep the momentum?
Yeah, absolutely. So I would say the very first sacrifice that I started making was in my mind. And that was, I'm a gym goer. I like to go there. I don't know that it's necessarily for aesthetics as it is just for my mind. So I like to blast music, zone out. And I stopped listening to music for the first 3 months I was in this business. And I only listened to podcasts. And I didn't finish working out until I had got through an entire podcast. Okay. So that was one thing. Even though I wasn't watching it, it was constantly in my mind. When I was driving to appointments, because guys, when I started, there was no telesales. And this sounds funny to say, but you guys have it easy. And when I say that, it's so funny because, when we're younger and our parents say back in the day, right? I feel like that when it comes to the business. And I've only been in the business a little over 2 years. But when we first started, instant internet leads were brand new. They would drop in the CRM 2, 3, 4 at a time. So I would literally be driving 45 minutes to Mesa and help a family get out. And I'd be like, oh, there's 2 leads, bye. And then I would go drive all the way to Buckeye. And then I would find 4 leads, bye. So I was literally buying $1,000 worth of leads for my dial day all day long. I literally had a note in my phone, 2 plus 4 plus 6 plus 8 to try to get to 100 leads per dial day.
Real quick, Erika, thank you for that. I tell people that that's how it was. They think I'm lying.
It's
that's
insane.
How it was.
Okay, like we are so spoiled. But not only that, okay, I'm in Arizona. We have some of the top, most elite producers here that I was up against. And so if you have a CRM that, was dripping in leads and there wasn't an abundance, you know what option I had? To fly across country, because East Coast had all of the leads. So I literally, single mom, okay, my son had turned 11, my daughter was 16, going through that stage where she needs her mom most, right? They need support, but also they understood the importance of what I was doing and the future I was building for our family. So I would literally spend all weekend adding up leads in New Jersey, which is not a quick flight for me. It's 5.5 hours. So I would wake up at 2 a.m. so that could go work out. And then I would start dialing their time, right? I'm sorry, not 2 a.m., 4 a.m. I was looking at the time zone. Okay, so I'd wake up and I would start dialing at their 8 o'clock, which was my 5 a.m. Okay, so I would start dialing at 5 a.m. I would dial all the way until their 8 o'clock. I would jump on a red-eye flight. So 10 o'clock, I would sleep on the plane. I would land at 6 a.m. and my first appointment in New Jersey would be at 9 a.m.
Wow.
And I would run 10 appointments on Tuesday, 10 appointments on Wednesday, and then I would have like my leftovers. I would have my leftovers on Thursday and fly home.
Wow.
So I needed to maximize so that I could be away from my kids, the least amount of time possible, but get as much out of the trip that I could. So I quite literally didn't even sleep in my own bed. I started dialing East Coast, would fly out, fly back home, and then I would run here in Phoenix. So I would say that was one of the biggest sacrifices and one of the most awesome luxuries we have now. Because when I was running at home, people would ask me, how do you do it? We always see you posting your son's football games and this and that. And you know how I did it? I would pencil my kids into my calendar. It was the funniest thing. So like if my son had a football game on Saturday, that didn't mean that Erika didn't work all day, right? That didn't mean I just took the entire day off. All it meant was I was going to book an 8 o'clock, a 9 o'clock that's by his football game, go to his football game it would be 110 degrees outside, watching him play football. I'm sweating because I'm in my jeans and my work polo. And then I just go right back to work. Right. And I think that that's the thing that made me different than some of the people that just aren't willing to do that. Right. They think if they have a doctor's appointment or something like that, that means they take the whole day off because they're self-employed. And now, Mac, I've transitioned 100% to telesales, and my work-life balance is night and day different. But I wouldn't be here if I didn't make all the sacrifices in the beginning, right? In the beginning, I was protecting, 40 families a month from across the country. I was leaving my house I was leaving my house at 6, 7 o'clock a.m. and I was getting home at 8, 9 o'clock p.m. just to make it work. And now we have this abundance of leads. I protect them from my home, and I see my son go to school every day, and I'm here every, evening to make them dinner and things like that. And then I can still protect 30, 40 families because now we can buy them in any state that we want. Right now I can work New Jersey from here. And we can actually create a longer schedule because if you protect families, out in Hawaii or even Washington, right? Washington is an hour behind me. So when it's 9 o'clock here, it's only 8 o'clock there. You buy yourself time. If you live in one time zone, you're in the East Coast, you can still work Arizona time, and you gave yourself 2-3 more hours of the day. So there's always time as long as you make room for it.
Well, what I love about everything you're doing, it has like a little smidget of the mindset. The mindset is what made it work. I mean, to do a travel trip, to kind of give you the bones, you had to already believe in yourself, invest in, flight, invest in the leads, invest in a hotel. I mean, how much were you invested before you even made a dime?
You want to know the craziest part of a travel trip for me was you're investing at least $1,500 just in like the flight, that's not even the leads. And there was this one time there was $3,000 worth of leads that I could get my hands on. This was back when we were paying, $60, $80 for mortgage protection and all of those before the internet, right? And so I flew to California. I went there. I booked 34 appointments and 33 no-showed me.
Wow.
No joke. I was like, I must have lost it. I must have been lucky for the last year because I'm actually terrible and I should go like find a job. But you know what I did? Even though I was upside down at this point, over $4,000, $3,000 in leads, plus I had to fly there, plus the air, or plus the hotel and the car. I was well into almost $5,000 under. And I got a call from Gage Peer that he had an overflow of leads in Virginia. And I'm like, screw it. Went to Virginia and I wrote like $25,000 in 3 days. So if I would have given up and I would have just said, you know what, I'm never taking a travel trip again, I just wasted all that. I literally made all that money and, quadrupled it just by not being afraid. I bet on myself one more time, right? I failed. And then I just had to bet on myself one more time.
See, that's that little bit of Erika that I'm hoping you gather. We look at all these successful people. It's just these small principles that she just simply employed, right? She went and did what she did. She bought the leads. She listened to her leadership. She went to where the leads were abundant, but was getting nothing. And she just was 3 feet from gold. And hey, how she just walked back. And wait, did you go from back home from where you went and then you went out to Virginia?
Yep. I had to fly all the way home. Come home, and my son, oh my gosh, for the first year and a half, I'd come home and he'd be like a little puppy dog. How many families did you protect today? He'd literally sit by me at my desk and he would add them all up and, be like, great job and things like that. And I had to come back from this trip and be like, oh man, little tail between my legs. And when I had to tell them, hey, I'm leaving tomorrow, they said, you just got back. I said, yeah. And I got to get back out there. Like I got to redeem myself. And sure enough, I did. So that if you take nothing away from this, it's that there's nothing stopping you in this business from being successful besides yourself.
Love it.
Nobody has leads that you're not getting, right? They're all families that need our help that have requested it. And the only way that we're going to get better is if we do it ourselves. Right? You could tell me over and over, Mac, this is what I say. This is what I say. And unless I actually go out and practice it and do it and hear it for myself, I'm never going to get better. Right? Nobody wants just a sideline coach. We need someone there running alongside of us. And so I think that that's the biggest thing.
I appreciate that. And I know time is short. Erika has an engagement. Let me ask you this, 2 things. Obviously, you transitioned from just selling, helping families, to then building. If you can maybe in short help us understand why and when and how you made that transition successfully. And second, we have a big event coming up. Some people are brand new. We have people that are on this that haven't even contracted yet. They're about to.
Okay.
What did that do for you? Why should they go? Is it worth it? They haven't sold anything. If you have the time.
Yeah, when it comes to building, I actually, when you say all in, I had 8 people studying when I started studying. And all I did was post like, man, long night of studying again. And people would ask me, what am I doing? What are you studying? And so I started bringing people right away. Right. And I think that this opportunity is so amazing that it's selfish of us not to share and to help other people. I know what it did for my family. I more than tripled my income the very first year. And then I beat that the second year. Right. So I went to convention my very first year. I went last year and I am never going to miss it. Like I have stuff, coming in to make sure I'm prim and proper for that event, because there is nothing as important as going to convention. Getting your hands on Paul McLean and all of those people. I always talk about him because he's like literally my favorite. Okay. But
Apostle Paul's what I call him.
Yeah, but networking and seeing the people win, it helps you to understand they're just people. They're not doing, they're nobody special, and it makes it more tangible. And, Mac, when you and I met, yeah, of course we've met here in town, but, we saw each other at convention, and there's just nothing like being in an environment filled with entrepreneurs that all want to bet on themselves, but just don't know how. right? Sometimes they just don't know the same steps. And so I told anyone on my agency, if you want my one-on-one time and you're not on convention, so if you call me a week after convention and ask me the best in-home presentation, I'm going to look at you and tell you that you should have been watching whoever's on stage doing it in convention, right? Like if it's not important, anyone and the craziest part is when I was first came, they told me, if you're not going to convention, you may as well quit because you're not going to be here a year from now. I looked back at my team and the people that were not at convention last year, all of them are gone.
They're gone. They're gone.
They're gone. Yeah. So make sure that you make it a priority, whether you're putting it on a credit card, you have to sell a TV temporarily. I promise you, if you sell your big screen to get there, you're going to come home, you're going to make that money within the first week. And you can go buy you a fancy new one, right? And that's the reality.
I love it. Erika, I appreciate you. Thank you for taking your time to just pour into us. And I look forward to seeing you at conference with your team. And hey, again, from someone who grew up in a single mom household, thank you for what you're doing for your kids, because it's awesome. I mean, Wonder Woman is real. Let's just know that. Hey, I appreciate you. We'll see you guys soon.
I appreciate you, man. I'll see you in a couple weeks.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Bye.
All right, you guys. We were hoping to get a little bit more, but again, when we can get a 30 minutes with Kobe Bryant, you do. And that's what we got. So some of you had some questions. Go ahead and drop it in the chat and we'll try to go ahead and get them knocked out. Either we'll connect you with her or we can answer them here. Let's transition. And I want to maybe piggyback a little bit about what Erika talked about. Here's one thing I'll note. If you're taking notes, which I would highly suggest, convenience breeds mediocrity. Here's what I mean by that. Granted, she talked about how hard it was. She went in home first, and then telesales came in the game. And here's what I'm going to tell everyone. Everyone would love to sit in their pajamas and help 20 families a month, right? 30 families a month, 50 families a month, 50 families a month. Who wouldn't love that? But here's what I've noticed. The top producers, the skill set that they have now to be able to protect people that well came from them. You heard what Erika did, going in the home. And that I do telesales. Last year, I would say 90% of my business was telesales, my second year of the business. But where did I get that skill set from? It was going in the home. And so that's the reason my recommendation is always to anyone. I get it. Hey, if your legs are broken, you got a situation where you just can't do what you got to do. But I'm telling you, pound for pound, your skill set, that sword is sharpened by the ability to do it. And furthermore, as I just said, convenience breeds mediocrity, meaning no one's saying you're not going to win. You're going to win anyway because, hey, you're a winner. But how much better could you have done had you gotten your sword sharper? How much sharper could you have cut had you gotten it a little bit better? That's all we're saying. What I'm saying is ease. Beware of ease. Any top producer, you ask the Tony Robbins, the Sharmas, anyone, when something is easy and convenient, it doesn't suit very well. It does not end up well for you. So when it comes, I mean, think about it, working out. If you see some new gimmick where you don't got to work out, you just get a six-pack, something's up, because that's not how it works. Muscles. What do you have right now that you value in your life that you didn't have to sacrifice for, work hard for? I'm gonna just give you a prophetic, crystal ballish thing. The very things that you value the most in your life, they took work, sweat, grit. It cost you something. It cost you time. It cost you money. It cost you emotions. So all I'm saying is beware of ease. If you are a winner, you will gravitate towards discomfort. So that's how it's funny too, because I grew up, I was telling you about single mom. We grew up in Africa. I got used to things being hard for me. And when things were easy and I noticed things didn't turn out well. And here's what I noticed. I started gravitating towards difficulty, because here's what I know. You don't have to be a superstar to win. You don't, because here it's all about hard work, because most people, 80% of people, even agents, they will take the path of least resistance. If it's easy, they'll do it. So all you got to do is just go towards the harder part and you will be by yourself. That's what I'm talking about. So just understand that's what Erika did. She had a book. She was told she had to book 15 appointments. She booked 16. She was told to invest 1,000. She booked what? 1,500. That's what I did. I stacked the deck. Ask Brandon Kitchens. We stacked the deck in our favor not because we're so good, but because we know hard work will beat skill any day of the week. So remember that. All right. Last couple things I'll share, and we'll throw it up to a Q&A, is a couple of, we're going to do a little bit about product knowledge in this as well, because we want to add maybe a 5 to 10 minute segment. As far as the order in writing business, here's what we know. Structure is the difference maker between top agents and mediocre and rookie agents. Structure meaning you know what you do, right? This is just the method of operation. So Marico, Aetna, Prosperity, AmAm, and then of course AIG is the next one. That's the order you always do things in. So remember that as you go through this. But in order to get to even giving an option, I've listened to a lot of agents. I've done a lot of YouTubing. And here's what I noticed. The top agents, the Paul McLeans, the Matt Smiths, you know the one thing they do really, really, really well? They set the table. I want you to think, just to keep it in your mind, you're looking at a kitchen table, right? The kitchen table. When you go to like a gourmet restaurant, you haven't even eaten food yet, but you look at the way it's set up, right? Doesn't that just by itself, it just gives you, imbues this feeling of, wow, this is a nice spot, right? Versus you go to like, hey, I love me some Waffle House, so don't get me wrong. You go to a Waffle House, you go in there, you know where you're going. I'm just saying, right? The way the table's set, the ambiance, setting the table makes all the difference. Well, what does setting the table include? Well, it's the questions you ask. That sets the table, the expectations that you're giving to the client. When you go into a doctor's office, would you prefer a doctor that says, so what kind of drugs do you want? You want me to tell you the prices? Or should I just give you the copays? If you went into a doctor's office and they said, or rather, if you were a doctor and a patient comes into your room, right? They came into your clinic, just give me the dang prices. Just give me the drugs. I just want to know what the drugs are. What would you say to that person? You'd be like, get the heck out of my office. First, you can go to prison just if you're giving random drugs, right? And does it matter what prices you do, right? Unless it's going to fit and help you, it doesn't matter. So all I'm saying is you determine how well you are by how you set the table. You're trying to solve a problem, not sell a program, a policy. You're just simply trying to ensure you protect the client. So when you hear things like, I just want to quote, again, they either walked into the wrong office, and so your job is to see if you can help them. I'm sorry, man. Let me kind of explain how it works. We don't just give you random drugs. So setting the table is the questions you ask. Once you know how to help the client, you won't have questions so much like, well, I have a client, he's 80 years old and he wants $1 million policy. Those questions will go away. So setting the table, to be very clear, it includes, I'm telling them who you are, right? Here's what to expect. You know the reason they're doing this. Just here's what it sounds like. Client, I said, hey, client, I want to find out, hey, client, is this something that you've been thinking about for a long time? Or did someone pass away or your health changed that got you thinking about this? I want to know, are they a spontaneous person or has this been on their mind for a while? If it's been on their mind for a while, I want to know, well, why have they not pulled the trigger? I want to know, because those are the objections. You want to flush out all the objections. And here's the difference between 1 minute in the house or talking to the client, and within 10 minutes, less if possible, you should know if you have a sale or not. You should know if you're going to help that person or not. Me, I do. When I set the table and the client says, yes, I'm willing to engage, I know right now whether we're going to do business or not, or I know if I'm going to simply walk away. We can't control the client's health. We can't control what their situation is, but what we can control is the process. Do we set the process? And hey, what you don't want, you spend 30, 40, 50 minutes with someone and they say something crazy like, I want to think about it. Oh, I was just getting numbers. That means you messed up. That means you as a doctor, you did not do your job of setting the table. Those things shouldn't happen if you do good. So the reason I'm sharing this is part of the most important part. I'm seeing agents, they're jumping the gun. A client says, I'm open, and they just simply start giving options. They go into the health. No. Back up for a second. Relaxed intensity. Yes, you want to help them, but you can't help them. You're not a salesperson. You are a problem solver. Salespeople just give random things. Problem solvers they give the right thing that someone's already looking for, right? So just remember that as you go through. So in light of that, I'm setting up, there's a boot camp that we're bringing out. It should be within the next week. I know there are a lot of boot camps, but the purpose of it is to coin exactly how to set the table. So look for that as you go through. And here's what I did. I mean, Erika mentioned it. If someone's a top producer, y'all, and I'm not, I literally memorize what they said word for word. Can I be real for a second? You have agents who they say, hey, Mac, I'm having this challenge. Hey, I'm having that challenge. Okay. I send them what I say. And you know what happens? When I hear them again, guess what they're still saying? What they said. They say it in a different way, but it's not what I said. You know why? This is not the Mac show. You know why that is a problem? Do not be this agent. I call it, don't be an ask hole, okay? Don't be an ask hole where you ask a question, but you don't really listen to the answer. You say things like, oh, I'm doing that. No, you're not. If you were, you'd be getting my results, right? Just being real. So again, be a student. So for me, here's when I was talking about Julius, that was Erika's mentor. I was stuck. I was frustrated. I was this point from quitting, not because I wasn't making money, but I was stressed. I wasn't feeling I was in control, and I hate feeling out of control. So I went to this event. I was seeking. This is an event that I went to seeking help, like the national conference coming up. I went there, and Julius and his partner, Clay Sweet, they gave their setting the table presentation on exactly what they say, word for word. I recorded it. Then I scripted it. I went home. You know what I did, guys? I did what Erika said she did. I broke it up in chunks, and I memorized it word for word. Not only word for word, when they would inflect their voice, guess what I did? I did mine too. When they would kind of do a little down key stroke on the word, I did that too. I literally did not want to deviate because I didn't want to leave this a chance. You know what Erika said? She didn't have any time. Listen, I had wife and 10 kids. I still do, right? I couldn't leave it to chance. I had to win. Why would you create something random that you do not know works? So that's what I did. So I memorized it. You know what happened, guys? I was stuck at helping 20 families. I implemented what Julius and Clay did. That same month, first time I helped 42 families. I did it again, helped 58 families. Did it again. The same next month, helped 60 families. Because I did it then. At that point, I kind of got the gist. I was like, okay, now I could put my own Mac version into it, right? Because I knew how to set the table enough to be able to put my own swing into it. But I did not deviate until I had it down, following the path that had already been tread for me. So again, watch the video. But what you'll find is there's a common denominator with all top producers. And by the way, after I had went with Julius's, then I kind of started seeing another person who I felt that they set the table really well. They were selling even a higher amount. I said, you know what? I scripted what they did. And you know what I started doing? Helping more people. It used to take me a whole week, a whole month to help 20 families. And you know what happened? I was able to do it in 3 days. 3 days. Helping 20 families because I was able to do more with less. I would have the same number of appointments, but I would help more in that appointment. So instead of having maybe 1,000 AP in that appointment, I would help them with 2,000-3,000 in that appointment because I was able to identify more ways to help them. So I'm just saying this for you to know you got to follow. You got to follow. And then once you've done it, the rest is history. So guys, let me answer some of these questions on here, and then any others, we can kind of just go ahead and knock them out live. The order of operations, right? Remember, I think it's PEMDAS, right? So the order of operations when it comes to being a field underwriter is Americo. You can do Aetna. Personally, I go Americo, Aetna, AM, or preferably Prosperity. So Prosperity, I like their live underwriting, but AM. And then, of course, you can go all the others later on. AIG, those are the next ones. But again, Americo is always number one. Whenever in doubt, Americo. Because it's just a soft check, right? Go Americo, then Prosperity or AM, your choice. And then of course you can do Aetna, and then so forth and so on downward. That's the order. Yes. Anyway, so that's it. Someone's asking, what's the difference between AIG and Gerber? I like AIG because we are able to have a win-win with AIG. It's the easiest way I can say it with AIG. AIG is simple, and the reason that we use Gerber per se is because Gerber, I had a situation once where I had a client, he knew that he needed an AIG-like product where it was guaranteed issue, meaning there's a 2-year waiting period for the full payout, and he wanted to stack as much as possible. And I went there, and guess he already had AIG, so I really couldn't help him. I helped his wife. So from then on, I was at a conference, and I had this top producer. This guy, this is a guy that he does $1 million annuities all the time, right? I said, hey, what do you do for that? I just started asking questions. So that's one thing, by the way, when you go to conference, do not be stuck to the same clique that you came there with. I know we're friends. You're always going to see Mac. I'm here for you. You better go be talking to Paul McLean. You see a guy with a jacket, go talk to other people. Ask them questions. Say, hey, and do what I know what Rose did. She would say, hey, I'm a brand new agent. Hey, if you had three pieces of advice for me, what would you give me? And take notes. Anyway, he was there. I said, hey, how do you do this? How do you do this? I'm just asking all these questions. He goes, hey, by the way, I do use Gerber for this. So that's why I got Gerber as a secondary to be able to do for AIG. Yeah, and Gerber, yeah. Short answer. There's some answers on the chat for that. That's it, guys. Again, look for the boot camp coming out. It's going to be a specific code that you'll receive. Just keep it within the ranks for now. And then, hey, if we need to tweak anything, we can. I specifically made this boot camp so that I can speak to the group, and everyone's philosophy is unique. Some teams are running teams, other teams are passing teams, right? So it isn't something we just want to blast out because you might confuse the ranks of other people. It's almost like, when, your buddy's kids come to your house, the way you do things may be different, right? Maybe while they're at your house, they do it one way, but long-term, it's a little bit different for them. So that's it, guys. Any questions, of course, reach out to me. For those that are brand new, you got to come to conference. And I'll say this one last thing for conference. She said, just to confirm what you were saying, Vernon, if you tell me you're not going to conference, I'm going to start planning your funeral. I'm just being real with you. People are telling me, hey, Mac, I want to do this. I want to go ahead and change the world. Or, hey, I just want to be able to make more money. I had an agent recently that said, hey, things are tight, so I can't go. I'm thinking, isn't that the reason you started this? Why would you use the reason that you started this as an excuse not to do it? Right? So I was just asking real questions, legit questions. I said, listen, so if you don't go, how are you going to change the situation? I don't know. I'm saying, look, I said, what is the worst thing that can happen if you go? What? Airfare. Okay. How much that can run? He said, about $500. I said, okay. So you're out $500. Got it. And how much would it take you to earn $500? He said, maybe about a week. I said, okay. And he said, yeah, also because of the time I could have been working, maybe I'm out 2 weeks. So I said, fair enough. Worst case scenario, you're out $1,000. One, $500 for opportunity cost, other $500 for cash. I said, okay, what's the best case scenario? You go. What's the best thing that could happen? He goes, I get it. It clicks and I make 6 figures plus. I said, okay, you compare the two. You're telling me the weight, which of these two have a heavier pull? Do you gain more by doing this, or do you gain more by what you lose? If it just is the stupidest conference you've ever been to, worst case scenario, you are out 1 week of your time or a couple of days of your time and $500. Big deal. Versus what you could get. And last thing I'll tell you this. This is why you got to go. Here's why you got to go. If you tell me you're going from California to New York, because for some of y'all, the reason you're doing this is to change your lives. For some, it's maybe going from California to maybe Texas. Maybe for some, for your goals, is going from maybe California to, I don't know, Washington. It's closer. But here's what I will tell you. I don't care where you're going. You need some gas, right? Even if you have a Tesla, you still need, energy, some kind of station to fuel yourself. You're telling me you want to go from Cali to New York. And I'm saying, hey, Eric, bro, let's do a pit stop. Pit stop is in Miami, but bro, if you go to this pit stop, it will give you unlimited fuel. And let's say, you know, he's like, nah, man, I can't go. We just gotta keep going. I just gotta keep going the way I'm going. You are gonna run out of gas. You are not gonna make it. So to go back to what she was saying, every person who decides not to go to the pit stop, they run out of emotional, mental fortitude. They run out of fuel. They are gone. Rest in peace. So I'm just being real. When someone tells me they're not going to go, I'm like, well, rest in peace. It was good having you. And hey, I hope you are the exception, not the rule, but it's so unlikely going to happen. So make a decision, go to the fuel stop, because again, it's all going to work out for you if you go. I can't guarantee you everyone that goes is a success, but I can guarantee you everyone that is a success goes. All right. So that said, guys, we will see you all next week. We actually have, if you thought this week was good, we have a special guest speaker next week, and he's going to give us all his time. This is a guy, he's helped over 600,000, well, I'll say this way, 600 families this year. So, sorry, 2022. He just, young guy. He does it seamlessly from home. Like, he's pure telesales, and he's going to go in through the specifics of his story on how he did it, why he did it. So my recommendation, make sure you don't miss it. It's going to be every Thursday from 2 to 3 Mountain Time. I know you're going to be there, but bring someone with you, because the best thing you can do, if you want to go fast, go by yourself. I get it. But if you want to go far, bring someone with you. That's how you do it together. So that's it, guys. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you guys next week.